So Yeezy and Adidas have been working together for over 6 years now. However, recently Kanye West has been notoriously vocal about how Adidas is stealing and copying his Yeezy sneaker design. So I wanted to see how much of this is really the case, so I went shopping on the Adidas website. I actually bought every single Adidas sneaker that resembles a Yeezy, and today we're gonna take a look at the top 5. A couple things I wanted to see by making this list was how good are the sneakers, are they good alternatives to Yeezys, and obviously how much they resemble a Yeezy sneaker. So let's get into the top 5, and I think I'm gonna start off right out the gate with an honorable mention, which kind of looks like a pair of Yeezys, but it kind of looks like a couple different models. So in 6th place, or as an honorable mention, is the Adidas Foam SLTN, or SLTN. I'm not entirely sure how you would say that, and I'm not entirely sure what it's abbreviated for, but this is one of Adidas's newest models, and as you can see, there is some Yeezy elements within this sneaker. I just couldn't quite put my finger on if it looks like a Yeezy 700 or a 350. It's kind of like a mix of both of them. It's all over, I guess, a mesh or knit upper, and the midsole is actually made of this, I guess, 3D printed kind of looking material. It is pretty decently soft, and it is something that we have seen Adidas more recently use on some of the newer models. Now, on foot, I actually have to say, these things are pretty comfortable, and let me tell you guys the retail price, because that's what surprised me the most about this pair of shoes. These are only 85 pounds or under $100. But let me get into the top 5 so I can show you some of the ones that actually resemble Yeezys pretty closely. Number 5 on my list goes to the brand new Adidas Oz Nova. This one resembles a Yeezy 700 V2, not just in the style, but also in the materials and the lacing. The materials on it, as you can see with the Yeezy 700 V2, you're getting a mix of leathers and suedes. And those leathers and suedes are laid on top of a mesh material, very, very similar to the Oz Nova, which is also a leather and suede base, which actually feels really solid, especially for the price tag. This has the traditional 3 stripes on the side, whereas the Yeezy has the 3 stripes, but just going off to the other direction. Now, the Adidas Oz Nova actually only retails for 120 pounds, so I guess kind of closer to $150 if you're out in the US. And I think for that price tag, you're getting a pretty decently comfortable shoe, and it's got good quality. So in terms of this Adidas Oz Nova being an affordable option to the Yeezy 700, well, the 700 V2, depending on what colorway you go for, will range from about 250 to 300 on the aftermarket. And this obviously coming in at 120 pounds, there's quite a price difference right there. That's at least half the price. So let me know what you guys think. This is definitely, a lot of the shoes on this list are going to be down to my eyes and what I think is similar. All right, the 4th place goes to the Adidas Ozweego for looking like the Yeezy 500. Now, the Ozweego is one of the most popular Adidas models right now, and I think for like the past year or two. Like, there's so many people that absolutely love the Ozweego, and there's so many people, like, on a day-to-day basis that you walk around and you see wearing the Ozweego. Definitely, I would say a slimmer, less chunky version of the Yeezy 500, but when you look at the details and the design aspects, especially in that midsole, you can see the inspiration is definitely there. Now, different versions of the Ozweego have been released, and this is the only one I could find on their website currently, but there's other versions of the Ozweego specifically that look even more like a Yeezy 500. They retail for just 95 pounds here in the UK, so a very affordable option. We are looking at about $100 out in the US. Or as this being an affordable option to a Yeezy 500, well, again, the retail price on the Ozweego is only 95, and the price tag of a Yeezy 500 can range anywhere from 180 pounds all the way up to 300, again, depending on what colorway. Number 3 on my list, I do actually have 2 different pairs of Adidas sneakers that look very, very similar. So we'll start off with the first one, the Adidas Ozelia in this white and black colorway. I think just by looking at it straight up, you can tell this is a Yeezy 700 V3 affordable option. And the other Adidas sneaker, which might even look more similar to the 700 V3, is the Ozrah. Let's start off with the Adidas Ozrah. First of all, not just the looks of it look like a 700 V3, but also to some extent the materials. Take a look side by side. You can see the Yeezy 700 V3 has that kind of tucked in effect with this almost arrow-like shape for the exoskeleton. A very, very similar thing to the Ozrah. As you can see, the cage on the outside is actually also a kind of mixture of not just a knit material, but also a plastic rubberized cage-like thing, which is very, very similar to the Yeezy 700 V3. And in terms of these being an affordable option to a Yeezy 700 V3, well, they retail for only £120, at about $150 out in the US. And the Yeezy 700 V3 ranges, depending on what colorway you want, anywhere between £200 and £230. Now let's take a look at the other 700 V3 Adidas sneaker, which is the Adidas Ozelia. Now this is a little bit more inferior in terms of materials, but in terms of the design and especially the color theme, you definitely see what it's going for. I mean, take a look, another side by side, you can really see it, especially when they're close together. Now, if you're looking at this option, well, this one's even cheaper. These things are only £70, which is the cheapest, I think, on this list, or one of the cheapest at least. Well under $100. You're looking at probably about $80, maybe $90. That is mad, especially seeing them in hand. I'm so glad I did this because it is wild seeing them in hand. And the number 2 spot goes to obviously one of the most, I guess, popular on this list in terms of Kanye was actually singling these out as being a Yeezy foam runner knockoff, and that of course is the Adidas Foam Q. Now the Adidas Foam Q is actually something that dropped super recently. In fact, I don't even think it's fully released here in the UK. They were supposed to have a raffle of it up on September the 14th, which never took place. So the future of the Foam Q is a little bit shaky as of right now. It really does depend heavily on what happens to Yeezy and Adidas moving forwards. Either way, the Foam Q dropped in the US. I think they were $120. Here in the UK, they're only £90 if you bought them from Adidas. Just as an Adidas sneaker, you can see where a lot of that inspiration came from. It's the first all-over foam sneaker that at least I know of Adidas has ever made. That of course being apart from the Yeezy Foam Runner. And it does have the inner sock piece and laces, something that the Yeezy Foam Runner doesn't have, but in terms of an affordable option, well, $120 or £90 here in the UK versus the Yeezy Foam Runner on the aftermarket is anywhere from £100 to £200 depending on what colorway again. We're looking at a significantly more affordable option. And the number 1 spot is of course another massively popular one, which of course Kanye mentioned it, almost kind of kicked off all of this stuff between Yeezy and Adidas, and that is the Adilet 22. Adilet 22 for resembling or looking very similar to the Yeezy Slide. The Adilet 22 dropped a couple months ago, I believe in June or July, and it released in a plethora of different colors. There's some mixture effect ones and some very earth-toned ones, which again resemble the Yeezy Slide. It's almost like everybody wants a pair of Yeezy Slides, and when you compare the two side by side, there is a lot of similarities. The Adilet 22 feels very comfortable on foot. I wouldn't say it's as comfortable as the Yeezy Slide. When you think of the colorways and the design, there is a lot of similarities, a lot of crossover between the two models. And this is something that Kanye West himself has said, Adidas is ripping off my designs when it comes to the Yeezy Slide. In terms of the Adilet 22 being an affordable option to the Yeezy Slide, well, the Adilet 22 retails for £45 here in the UK. I believe it's about $55 out in the US, and I know for a fact here in the UK, you can pick these things up not only in store, but you can find them online. There was a short period where they were selling out and reselling, but I think Adidas has kind of pushed out a lot of the stock to different retailers. So if you look around, there is definitely the Adilet 22 available to buy for that retail price. And the Yeezy Slide, depending on what colorway you want, ranges anywhere between £80 and $150. And that is my top 5 list. Now, I am fully aware that Adidas has done a lot of other designs that look very, very similar to Yeezys, but as far as what you can get on Adidas's website right now, these are the ones that closely resemble Yeezys. Either way, appreciate the discussion. Drop it down in the comment section. That's going to be the video. Thank you so much for coming through, hanging out for yet again another one. Thank you for liking, commenting, and of course subscribing. I'll catch you guys in the next one, but until then.